Welcome, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thank you very much to the province of Alberta for supporting job seekers, and to Brian from Compound XP, who is our technology advisor. And he also is the one we go to when we have a few glitches or problems. And I'd also like to thank the talent pool, especially Brandon and Chris, who actually made these events possible. So a reminder that you can check out our past webinars on our YouTube channel. And our last event of this series will be January 18th, and it will be in person if all goes well. So we have a picture of all of our lovely coaches today. And our presentation is going to be similar. I'm going to give a short presentation on information that you probably won't cover in the group. And then you will go into your groups and you will work with your coaches to practice your interview questions, ask them any questions that you've got. All of them are talented and experienced. So thank you, coaches. I'm going to now try to share my screen. So if all goes well, we will have my PowerPoint up and ready to go. So there we go. Okay, maybe because it's a bit distracting, there we go. Thank you. Should you send a thank you note, we've got our votes in. I'm going to close I'll just move that poll right off the screen. And let me see here. The answer, I think, is true. So let's see, in a 2017, and I know that's 5 years ago, but I think it still is similar, AccuTemps surveyed HR managers, and only 1 in 4, or 25% of candidates, bothered to send a thank you note. Yet, 80% of those employers surveyed agreed that when they received thank you notes, it helped with the hiring decisions, especially when it came down to 2 candidates. I know a well-written thank you note takes time, energy, and effort to get it right. But when you think about all the time, energy, and effort you've already spent in just getting to the interview stage, writing a thank you note is nothing, since it can have an impact. I think that being thankful, especially at this time with so much negativity around us, you will really stand out. Okay, so next slide. I happen to think that 4 elements should be included in your thank you email if you've not sent one before. So a subject line, a greeting, the email body, and here's some ideas of what you could include in the email body. And then also you want to sign off. You want it to be professional. I know on my email, I have a little quote that I feel really speaks to me and my mission in work. And I've had lots of people comment on it. So you might think about having a permanent quote in the bottom of your email that just is something that might spark interest or be a hook. So here is an example of a thank you note. You notice that my subject line says thank you first. That is a kind of attention grabber, and it tells the employer the position and your name, which helps them make a connection and want to open the email. You know, so many people get so many emails that you really do want yours to stand out. I think we just need to present a positive image to our potential employers. Remember, employers are not just looking for people with technical skills, but they're looking for fit. Do they want to work with you in the company? So this is one way to showcase that you are going to be a great coworker. Okay, so next question. Let me publish this. Let me see here. Now you see publish here. Okay. Whoops. Now, can everyone see that? The next question is, you should follow up after the interview. Is this true or false? Now, for some reason, oh, technology. Let me see. I seem to have lost my there we go. There's a poll. 8 people, 9. Come on, people. Let's vote. Okay, there we sit. Boy, this is getting off to a rocky start, I have to tell you. So let's look at what I think. I think this is true. I think it's important that you follow up appropriately. This can be by email or phone call, but make sure you are not following up too often or badgering the interviewer. I'm sure none of you would do that, but I have heard stories of job seekers that are almost harassing the employer because they really want the job. So my rule of thumb is that it's appropriate to follow up about a week after the date they mentioned a decision would be made. So I rarely would follow up on a Monday because I think that's when people are getting their desks organized and they're usually busy. But I would also follow up early in the morning or later in the afternoon because they may have more time available and they may not be in the middle of something. So take that for what you want. Okay. Our next poll is, when asked if you have any questions, it is polite to say no, you have everything covered very well. Let's look at this answer. Are there any votes coming in? Okay, the votes are coming in. Excellent. Oh, we've got a mixed bag here. All right. Well, I am saying this is definitely false because asking questions shows that you are interested. It shows you've done your research, and it also indicates that you're serious about the position. Here are some categories that J.T. O'Donnell, who's a career guru, suggests. Number 1 is to create a connection with the employer. This kind of question would be when you ask the employer, what do you enjoy working here? The second category is to learn about the culture of the company. This type of question could be, can you tell me what kind of social atmosphere there is in the office? Do people celebrate birthdays or have potluck lunches? If a social environment matches your values, this is important information to know. Remember, you're also looking to see if the position fits you more than just if the employer sees you as a fit. The next question helps you learn more information about your research. Perhaps you learn there's a new project starting up. So saying, in my research, I've discovered the Strand project is beginning and wondered how this position will aid in the success of this project. And then the last type of question is next steps. You never want to leave an interview without knowing what the next steps are in the hiring process. May I ask you when you expect to decide about this position or what the next steps in your hiring process are? Okay, true or false? You should answer the interviewer's questions immediately. Okay, what do you guys think? I'm just counting the votes here. Okay. Well, I personally think this is false. I think that pausing has several benefits. It projects confidence and your answer won't come across as being memorized, and you appear thoughtful, which we always want to do. It also gives you extra time to think about what will you say and how will you deliver it. Man, my words are just like tumbling over each other. How will you start your answer? So having a pause gives you a moment to think and process and come across a little smoother. So I always suggest you can say something like, oh, may I take a moment to think about this? Or that's an interesting question. You can also add a little sentence in that lets them know that you're thinking about it, you're not just hesitating. There are many different types of interviews you could attend, but they all require the 3 Ps. And these are similar to the 4 Rs in resume writing we discussed last month. So the 3 Ps are preparation, practice, and presentation. Preparation, is first. We've talked about this already for resume writing. You have to do your industry, sector, and company research first. Companies want to hire people who are choosing to work for them rather than someone just looking for a job. Next, you want to find out who's interviewing you. You can go on LinkedIn to learn a little bit about them. Is there anything you have in common that maybe you can refer to in the interview? Then how will you be interviewed? Is it going to be face-to-face? Is it using technology? Where will you be interviewed physically? Where do you have to go? Or what specific technologies will you use? And of course, you've already created your skill benefit or accomplishment statements from your resume writing, but you need that for this interview. And you need to develop 6 to 8 star stories to prove your skills and experience. You refer to your previous work history and you think about situations or tasks completed you were proud of. Those times you felt like you achieved something or you were complimented on something. Those are the stories you're going to bring forward in the interview to prove you have certain skills or experiences. So the next is practice, which is what we're going to do today. Identify what some of the common interview questions are. And in your groups, you will be talking about this. Understand why are they asking certain questions is important. It makes sure that you are giving them the information they need. Every single question is, why should I hire you? We want to practice what points you want to cover in your answer. I'm not saying memorize your answer. I don't want you to do that. What I'm saying is think about what skills you want to highlight. And the last is presentation. I'm talking about both physical and emotional presentation. Are you showing up confident? Are you dressed for the role if you're meeting people either face-to-face or on Zoom? Look the interviewer in the eye if face-to-face. Look at the camera, not the person on the screen. We always look at the camera if we're using technology, so it appears as if we're looking at them. Maintain good posture and smile. It's one of those things that when we're nervous, we forget to smile, but smiling makes a difference in your voice. Last, are you able to tell a story about 2 to 3 minutes using the STAR format, which is situation, task, action, result? By having that format and following it, your answers will be concise and you won't wander off into different tangents that may not be useful or not very valuable for your employer. So this is a website that I've previously used and I thought I would just share it as a resource. It offers questions and suggested answers that are connected to different careers or virtual interviews or specific companies such as Amazon. It's great for research, but you really do need to personalize your answers, so don't memorize the answers they give you. Now, I'm not selling anything, but I thought I will just show you some of the information that you can gain from this website. So that question, tell me about yourself, is most difficult for people to answer. It can be challenging to know what they're looking for in an answer. Do they want to know about me personally or my previous work experience? Should I go through my resume? Every question is, why should we hire you? Therefore, when you're answering, tell me about yourself, keep it professional. Here's a guideline to follow if it makes it easier for you. Give a very brief overview of your career journey. Then talk about your current situation, how it relates to the job opportunity. What is it that you really enjoy about your work? What are the skills that you really want to use? What makes you a fit for this position? Share how this opportunity fits with your aspirations. Your last sentence can be, did I answer your question? Or is there anything you would like me to expand on or explain further? Remember, if you didn't give enough information, they can always ask for more. If you give too much information or irrelevant information, you lose them. So be like Goldilocks and give them the right amount of information to help them decide that you are a fit. So think about your star stories you've prepared. Is there a special story that you want to use right up front that is about an achievement and accomplishment that really showcases how you are a fit for your job? Or what do you like about this type of work? We hate the word bragging, but think about how you can showcase your value that you bring to the employer so they see you as a strong candidate. I always think about the facts. So when you're talking about your previous history, you're talking facts. It's not bragging. So what to avoid? Anything too personal. Your answer needs to be related to your career. Focus on the strength you have to do this position. There are several areas that an employer should not be asking about. Family, situation, religion, age, they're just some examples. Don't share this type of information unless it is to your advantage. So here's an example from the website that I just gave you, mock questions, and I'll let you read it. I would also choose to share one or two of the skills that you enjoy using and explain the benefit of those skills. You might use the words I enjoy, I love. Really think about, why do you like the field you're in? So let's change the topic and talk about virtual interviews because they are here to stay. And so I thought I'd give you a quick overview if you haven't experienced one so far. So one type of virtual interview is the two-way or the video conferencing interview. Similar to what we're doing now, we use Zoom, Skype, GoToMeetings, Google Meet, and Microsoft Teams. These are the most common. They are similar to in-person interviews, but use technology to interact with the other person or panel. The second type of virtual interviewing is usually used for screening in place of the telephone interview. It's a one-way video interview where you answer preset questions recorded for the employer to check out later. For this type of interview, there is no feedback. You're not talking to anyone, you're just looking at the camera, answering their questions. It can seem impersonal. Here is an example of what it looks like to begin. This interview will take approximately 35 minutes, so make sure you are uninterrupted during that time. You require a webcam and a microphone. Your answers are typed into the chat, or you will record your answers. You have a choice to start now or practice first. Always, 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 always practice first. It's important that you understand what the setup is. In this case, they tell you you're going to have 10 questions to answer. As mentioned, some of them will require you to be videotaped, and others you will type in a chat box. You will only be given a specific amount of time. That is very important. When your time is up, it cuts you off. There's no going back to fit things. There's not, I'd like to redo that. You can't change it, and it'll automatically take you to the next question. Some companies allow you a second chance, but understand that the employer can see your first answer. So you need to be clear. So here are a few tips for doing virtual interviews. We have also put in the alert 2 links to videos that go through how to prepare for virtual interviews, which I think you might find beneficial. So the first one is to test your technology and your Wi-Fi. The great thing about a one-way interview is they usually give you 24 to 48-hour window to complete it. You can complete it late at night or early in the morning. It really is up to you, so it's very convenient. And so my suggestion is you record yourself and listen to your voice. You can go to Zoom. They have like free 40 minutes at a time. You can record yourself on that or use other applications and record yourself. You can use your phone and do a video of yourself from your phone. Listen to your voice. How are you speaking? Are you running your words together because you're speaking quickly? Are you nervous? Is that coming through in your voice? Are you stuttering? Do you have any speech habits? As I was preparing for this talk, I realized I start many of my sentences with the word so. I was unaware of it when I was speaking, but when I looked back and listened, I realized that that is what I need to work on in order to deliver my information in a more clear manner. What does your background look like? Oops, I missed. Look at the camera, not the screen. As I mentioned, I want you to look at the camera because when you look at the camera, it looks like you are looking at the employer. When you're looking at the screen, it looks like you're looking at the screen. So keep that in mind. And I want you to stage your background, your office, have something behind you that is not very distracting. You don't want an open door where you can see a bedroom behind you. Your background, is it messy? Is it giving the impression you want to give? So also check your lighting. If you face a mirror, that is usually the best because it throws light on you so that you're lit up. If the window's behind you, usually that means your face is dark. So you want to be able to check your lighting and move around. I have a ring light, but what I find is it's great to put light on me, but it also reflects in my glasses, which is very annoying for me. So the great thing about doing a virtual interview is you can have Post-it notes across the top of your computer with one word on them to remind you of what you want to say. Are there certain skills you want to highlight or a star story you want to tell? When a question comes up, you can look there quickly and then you can give your answer. Avoid any visuals or noise distractions. Turn off your phone, your Outlook, anything that dings or bongs. You don't want to be distracted. Previous workshops that I've done, my landline has phoned because I've forgotten to remove it from the room. So look at all of those types of things that might cause you to be distracted. Then, if you have any technology problems, try to troubleshoot them. So for instance, if you're doing a two-way interview, ask for the phone number of the interviewer at the beginning. So if something happens and you lose the signal, you can get in touch with them and decide on the next course of action. And the last thing that I'm going to cover is references, because one of the coaches mentioned that people are going through the screening process and employers are checking your references prior to the in-depth interview. It's important that people you are choosing as references are going to say good things about you. That sounds so bizarre when I say it, but I've heard many stories of people using references that were not positive. I've heard of someone who got phoned up by the person that was interviewing them to say, hey, don't use that reference, they're bad-mouthing you. So also you want to specify to your reference what it is you want them to speak to. What are the skills that you would like them to emphasize? Is there a weakness you're going to use that you want them to be aware of? It's important that you keep them up to date. And it's also important that you stay in touch with your references over time. Let them know how things are going. Connect every once in a while. Say, I hope you're doing well. I just want you to know I'm still in job search mode. Or happy holidays. Or I've read this article that I thought you would enjoy. It is always beneficial to have that ongoing relationship. And it's also very useful for them to have your resume and job description so they understand what it is that you're applying for and how they can tailor your answers to show you are suitable. And finally, regardless of what happens, you have to close the circle. Let your reference know whether or not you got the job and thank them. They're doing you a favor and you might need them again in the future. So it's kind of a nice thing to do. Everybody likes to be appreciated. The last thing I'm going to say about references is make sure that you are not using a reference that is very old and really cannot speak to what you do at the present time. My husband had an old employee from 8 years ago use him as a reference and didn't tell him, which was a big no-no. And so when they called for the reference, he was not able to share any information. So it was really a waste of a reference. So without further ado, we're going to end this. Stop sharing. I'm going to come back on. I'm going to say, wow, I got through it. I'm so happy. I didn't realize that I was on mute, so I just want to say, I'm sorry. You missed a lot of really great information I was talking to prior to turning on my microphone. So as the coaches come on, I do want to speak of appreciation. I want to thank the coaches that are here today working with you. You know, they are talented, they are knowledgeable, and so I think that you will enjoy your time together, and hopefully I haven't used up too much of your time. So without further ado, our magician, Brian, is going to put you into your groups in your breakout room, and then your coaches will follow. So, last week we had a little glitch with someone, so if they aren't there, just be patient, talk amongst yourself, and good luck. And I hope you learn a lot in this workshop. So, you see, I used that so word. I didn't even realize it. Now I'm aware of it. I said to my husband, yes?
Sorry, how much time do we have in the breakout room?
You will have about 45 minutes.
Okay.
If that works for everyone. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'm going to pop in and out and check things out so that we will see. If you need more time, I can. If you need less time, okay. Good luck. I love how people just appear on screen. It's like magic.
I bet.
It's just like magic. Yes. Well, everyone, I want to say I just tried to pop in and get a little taste or flavor of what you were speaking to. You know, this subject you can spend hours doing. And I do want to say to the job seekers, seek out some of those Alberta government contracts where you can do free mock interviews with a career coach. So practice, take the feedback that the coaches today gave you and work on it, practice, prepare, practice, and present, and make sure that you are able to really kind of wow in the interview. You don't have to do anything over the top. You just need to be yourself. But I think it's important to be able to speak authentically about what you bring to that job. What are your skills? And so hopefully we did talk a little bit about that. We noticed that some people didn't show up today who'd signed up, actually quite a few, but I do feel like there's just so much sickness out there. Someone mentioned their neighbor just had COVID, and my family, there's 12 of us, 10 of us, no, I wasn't, but 10 of them have been sick with flu, colds. So try to stay healthy. Now, coaches, my favorite part. Would you like to share words of wisdom? And so I think maybe I'll just have whoever has something on their mind to speak up. I don't know if we have a little hand. Do we have a hand indicator? Maybe not.
No.
But, rather than me calling on you if you're not prepared. Well, Heather has her hand up, so okay.
Sure. So I'll start. So one of the questions that came up is there are so many questions on the internet that you can identify that employers ask, and part of it is, gosh, you have to prepare for all of them. So what we talked about was the importance of going back to the posting to look at their key requirements and the key skills that employers are looking for, and especially when you're looking to put together those star stories, if you can look at kind of the key competencies and skills. What are the specific stories from your past that you can tell that demonstrate you have that skill?
Oh, that's a great tip.
Yes.
And sometimes you can tell a story with just a different lens. Share for different, don't tell the same story for every question, but if a question comes up, you can share the story you might not have planned. Svetlana?
Thank you, and thank you, Heather. We are actually had an opportunity to discuss some similar points as well. And a couple of things that I wanted to share here is that we kind of split it into the networking portion and the interview portion. And when we talked about importance of networking that might lead to those interviews, I think the best advice that I could ever give is, and I didn't come up with it, I probably heard or read it somewhere. Don't ask for a job, ask for advice. Because you know how often when people start networking, right away they say, oh, they're going to help me to find a job. Or they reach out, I'm looking for a job. Can you help me? And we all know how it makes us sometimes feel, right? Especially when we cannot help the person, especially when we do not have anything to offer at a particular moment. And there is a huge difference that could lead to a better outcome when we actually ask for advice, because it's flattering. People love giving advice. People have a lot of wisdom to share. And I think this is the best milestone that could kind of push us to this better networking, developing better relationships. And then back to Heather's discussion when you mentioned that it's important to go back to the job posting when you actually prepare for those answers. Another point is also how important it is to actually save the job posting, because usually by the time that people are being invited to the interview, the job posting is already down. And I cannot stress how many friends, people I coached, my students I had, that they would get excited about a job, but they would be applying for 5, 10, 15 different jobs. And by the time they get an interview, they cannot go back to the job posting and they do not remember exactly what the job was about, and they cannot come up with those star stories. So saving the job posting, absolutely. And very quickly, very last point I wanted to share is that another question that we are often asking or being asked during the interviews is, why do you want to work for us? And the immediate reaction that people have would be, what do I want, or why I want this job? But we have to be strategic here and think about the fact, okay, what do I actually bring to the table, which requires research, what the company is about, what the position is about, and how I will contribute, rather than why I want the job. So these are my couple of points.
Oh, great comments, especially that last one. It is important to be thinking of that lens of what the employer needs rather than what do I need. Thank you. Thank you. Kamal?
Thank you, Lynn. So one of the tips that I would like to give all the job seekers is A, be yourself and be honest and confident. And when it comes to star stories, yes, it's always a good idea to give employers what they're looking for. However, be prepared and have clear and concise answers. So rather than just giving one answer for 5 minutes, if you're prepared, then your answer would be clear and concise, and the employer would get the message. Thank you.
Ah, very good advice. Very good advice. Thank you. Anyone else want to jump in?
I can. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Those were great. And I got the privilege to have Norman in the room as well. And in addition to, we talked about the star stories and the problem solving and things like that. We also just talked about being yourself and being confident, because a lot of times, we think that we have to be 100% qualified for every job that we're interviewing for or applying for. But we talked about how employers aren't necessarily looking for that. You know, if you hit 70% of the criteria in your resume and they're interviewing you, now they're really looking for fit, personality, somebody that can that will work with the team, somebody that is teachable and things like that. So don't, you know, we said don't get so nervous thinking that you have to hit 100% of every single thing. If they're talking to you, they already see something in you. And then again, so just do your best with that and don't get so hung up on, you know, being perfect, but they're looking for fit at that point.
Oh, great piece of advice. And I think now is a good time to, you know, mention how things don't always go as you plan. So for instance, this presentation, I wasn't aware that I was on mute, which I'm sure that many people were glad, but you know, things happen. And so you have to be able to bounce back from those in an interview. You have to maybe use some humor. Don't get flustered. So, you know, we're all people, and I think that kind of fits in with what you're saying, Danielle, that we just need to be ourselves and share information as best we can. So, who would like to go next? Oh, Charlotte.
Yeah, so I'm just going to piggyback Danielle's comment that people really do need to be teachable, you know, and in our group, everybody had a great, they had a good, way to tell me about themselves. But then with just a little bit of coaching, it's kind of on the road to greatness. And we each have that ability to, learn and modify, because for a lot of people, interviewing in Canada is very different than interviewing anywhere else. And you can tell that because people aren't really required to have results in other countries, but we want those numbers, those dollars, those increase, the decrease, the achieved, whatever. We want to see that. And my people were really teachable. So I appreciated that.
Ah, thank you. We also, in Canada, we tend to want to know what you did rather than what we did as a team. So I think that's one other difference that kind of falls into what you're saying, Charlotte. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elaine.
Hi. So we ended up talking quite a bit about mental health, just recognizing how challenging it is to be out of work and how we can become a victim in our own mind, and then that colors our stories. And so thinking about how to shift that, and especially in the star stories, rather than spending so much time talking about the situation, but really focusing on what are our strengths, what do we bring, what are the actions that we took that got us out of there. And one of our participants shared one of his learnings from an interview was star L. So the star, but then the learning part of it. And so we talked quite a bit about that. Yeah, and really preparing our star stories, naming them, taking in that cheat sheet into the interview to help us, to remind us, because in a stressful situation, sometimes our memory can be affected.
Thank you. Great points we haven't covered. I appreciate that. Okay, next, Norman. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, gotta find my mute button. I think a couple of things is partly I think we talked about STAR and we talked about the process. I think two things that I think I want to add is the the mentality or the psychology of going into the interview and during the interview. If you get invited to an interview, assume you're qualified to do the job. I don't know how many people I've talked to that question why they got their worthiness of being interviewed. And as I was telling the story in our group, a buddy of mine just got applied for a director level job. And he even questioned himself, I don't know why they interviewed me. Man, you're qualified for the job and it's director level. You figure a guy who has worked his way up their corporate ladder doesn't don't have those inferiority complexes, but they do. So walk in there like you deserve to be, because frankly, if you're not qualified for a job, we don't have time to see you, or we don't have time, or the interview have no time to interview you to begin with. So walk in there with the confidence to go in there, and during the interview, stay calm, have fun. I mean, it's a conversation. It's and the power dynamic, the power gap between yourself and their employer is actually significantly less than what you think, because ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to want to work for the company as well. You want to work for the hiring manager as well. Just because they offer you a job doesn't mean you have to accept it. And obviously, also don't beat yourself up, because you go in there, you do your best, but never beat yourself up, because a good chunk of the process is beyond your control. You're just on this roller coaster, and you're just kind of in it for the ride and hope for the best.
Fingers crossed. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Last but not least, I think, have we heard from Diane?
No, but I was with Heather, so I think she summarized it all.
Okay. And you have no words of wisdom from your years of experience? Years of experience. I didn't say you were old.
No, I didn't take it that way. I just started really young.
Yes.
I think a lot of our conversation with Heather and the two participants were follow-up. How to follow up right and answering the questions right at the end of the interview, what kind of questions, and then follow up, when to do follow up, and how to do that was, I think, one of the most important things. And even if when it came down to those rejection emails or letters you get, to follow up on those if you really want the job. Ask questions, ask for initial feedback after your interview if you're rejected, just to say, I really want to work for this company. How can I improve my chances next time? So don't put them on the spot and say, why didn't I hire? Why? Right. Going the negative side. It's just, I want to work here. So round 2, how am I going to get better chances next time?
That's great. And I've also heard of people sending thank you notes, even though they didn't get the job, sending a thank you note, just as a way to show you are a thoughtful, considerate person. And you probably want to work, they probably want to work with you because you will be like that as an employee. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your time with us. I'm going to read the events coming up because I haven't got them memorized. But we do suggest that you can follow us on social media, Talent Pool, or check our website for specifics. We will be sharing information about the upcoming events in our newsletter also. There is an Industry Connect hiring event where we teamed up with a local employer who's looking to hire retail staff. Anyone looking for information or wanting to apply, you can visit the Talent Pool Facebook page or email info@talentpoolhub.com. As I mentioned, we're ending these webinars come January 18th, 2023. There is a bilingual job fair that will be coming up on February 22nd if you are a French-speaking job seeker. And we will have our larger job fair that will be open to all job seekers March 22nd, 2023. And I hope you are all, employed by then. But if not, know that there is other supports out there. Look at the province of Alberta. They have free support coaches. It's your tax money. Take advantage of it, benefit from it. So there will be an evaluation sent out. And so we will once again offer a gift card on a random basis. Want you to know that we do value your feedback. Any information you can share is valuable. Alberta government, great support, providing us with the means to offer these programs. And Compound XP, even though you muted me, we got back on track. Poor Brian, giving him a hard time. And then, of course, the talent pool, Chris and Brandon, thank you for putting this together. So I hope that you all learned something new, will be more prepared for your next interview. Good luck. My final little saying is, facts tell, stories sell. So make sure that you are practicing looking up your star stories for your next adventure. So thank you. Have a good day and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.